All right.
Thank you. Okay. So good morning, everyone. This is the first day of February. The world is in a really weird spot right now, with Reddit taking over hedge funds, and yeah, I just wanted to say this on recording, so when we look back at it, we'll remember these times. So I want to. So generally on Mondays we have technical meetings. We go over technical issues that we're facing at that point. Get updates on where we are at in terms of development. So today we have very few people. So I'm probably going to. So I would actually like to get an update from Krish, who's here, and also maybe understand more about what Blaine is working on and how we can be of help to him. Since again we have very few people today, and other than that, I'll quickly go over where we are in terms of our overall plan. So our current priorities right now are getting the demo out. And I've mentioned this many times before. The demo is not just a smoke and mirrors kind of demo, not just something that works, but we're using it as a milestone for developing end-to-end functionality, the most basic functionality of Cozy, which is to create a bucket, create access token for that bucket, and provision that bucket into a pod so that the pod can start using it. In terms of development, we have this use case working as of right now. However, there is one pull request that's pending, and that pull request needs to be merged in one of the API repos in the spec repo. And once that is merged, we'll have to make some changes to our existing code to reflect that new API. So as of right now, that's the one part left in the development before we can say that the demo is ready. Another constraint that we added on the demo was to have it be as production ready as possible. What we meant by that was we'll have docs, we would have tested it in our environments as much as we can, and we'll and not just manually but also write test cases. So that's where that's the scope of the demo. And in terms of testing and documentation, we've made a lot of progress. We have a good amount of documentation present, and we have more people working on it. And we also encourage more people to help us out with any of these efforts: development, documentation, testing. So for the demo, like I said, everything green here is are things that are done. Everything is in yellow are things that are being done. However, based on how we defined the requirement for the demo to be, I think we're in a good shape. The next step is API review. So API review is very important for us before we can go alpha in the Kubernetes ecosystem, and that'll make our project much more visible to others, and also it'll help us attract more contributors and move faster. So for the API review, the same pull request that we're waiting on for the development is also relevant here. Once this is merged, I was just mentioning to Shing earlier before people joined this meeting that once this is merged, we'll be ready for the API reviewers to take a look at what we've done. This reflects the latest or the latest version of the KEP refers to this updated pull request, this updated version of spec. So I've sent a link to this on the chat, and this pull request basically follows up on what we had decided in the meeting, in one of these meetings a few weeks ago, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. If Saad is here, Saad, we've addressed your comments. Are you here? No, you're not. Okay. And yeah, so Shing, I'll send out another email to Saad, um, hoping that he would take a look at it again. It'll be good if you can also take a look, so it might be easier for Saad to approve and follow what's going on if you also take a look, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll take a look.
Yeah. Okay, so that's where we are in terms of demo and API review. Again, there's that one pull request that's kind of the bottleneck for both of them. And I think API review deadline is this Friday, correct? The 6th? No, Saturday the 6th.
Which one?
What's the deadline for submitting the API review?
Oh, the deadline for the CAP merge is the 9th, February 9th.
Okay. So that's like next
Friday, right? It's probably
Wednesday. Next Wednesday, huh?
next week, I think.
Yeah, next Wednesday. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, that's why this is a high priority issue for us, and we want to get it through as soon as possible. Any questions so far? Okay. Now I would like to get an update from the people who were working on things already. Krish, what were you working on, and where are we? I think you're working on the CSI adapter, right?
Yeah, that's right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I've just been working on doing manual testing and validating the behavior of the CSI adapter. So last week I was having some trouble getting the deployment working, but it seems like that's mostly resolved now. I did some work over the weekend. So now it's just a matter of doing some more testing.
So you said that node get info wasn't being called, right?
Yeah, it wasn't calling node capabilities. Node
Get capabilities. Okay.
Yeah. And so I took a look at some other manifests that are out there, and I made some changes, and it's working now. So.
Okay, great. Okay, and okay, once that is done, so do you have you tried having multiple buckets in the same pod, and did you see if it mounts correctly and everything?
I'm just working on that right now.
Okay. Have you tried it with a single bucket?
So I managed to get it calling the all the appropriate endpoints now. So it's calling like node get capabilities and then node stage and unstage, which was why we needed the get capabilities call. So now it's just a matter of making sure that it's mounting the secret correctly.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, we should go over the secrets one more time, like the file permissions and yeah, just some properties of how it's retrieved and how it's saved. We'll go over it once again.
Okay.
Yeah. Jeff, I noticed you were here. You were working on the KEP, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think last we spoke. Yeah, you left it at a good point, and someone. I think I was going to take over. Is that right? Just finish up. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the KEP to reflect current API and RPC spec because that had drifted some from the original KEP that had been merged, and so that PR was ready to go. But Sid, then you were saying for API review, we need to make additional changes to the KEP
right.
to make it implementable, to move status from unimplementable to ready for alpha. And you wanted to do that, from what I read, in this same PR rather than
Right.
new PR because of overhead of getting people to review the PR. So
Right.
that additional work of some new sections in the KEP, some formalities around making it implementable was going to take extra time for me. And I think since there's some time urgency here, and it's not a high priority in my work right now that to get it done, you said, well, maybe you have to take it over. If I can still help or review, I'll do that, but maybe I shouldn't be the owner of it if it's time critical.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, no, that's best, I think. Yeah, and if I need any help, I'll reach out.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so you've done the majority of the work. I just have to add sections for production checklist, production readiness checklist, and whatever else is required for making it implementable. I believe there are a few sections for it, like upgrade path and
you did the research. You found a couple of approved KEPs that have these sections in them.
right. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So this is good. I was hoping Srini and Rob would be here too, because they're working on the controller and provisioner sidecar. I was hoping also Yanis would be here. He is working on the documentation updates. But I think today has been a slow Monday for a lot of us. Yeah.
So I know Blaine's on the call. Hi, Blaine. I'm wondering how we can use some new participants that we have. So
I was thinking the same thing. So maybe we could start by Blaine. Maybe you could introduce yourself and go from there.
Yeah. I work with I work for Red Hat. I work with the OpenShift container storage product, and practically speaking, that means I work on the Rook upstream project, and we currently use the sort of I guess what I have sometimes called the like prototype version, or the like initial kind of like concept for Cozy in the libbucket provisioner library, and have worked recently with looking at that library and how it interacts with Rook, and fixed a few things. And with Cozy, I guess like mostly I'm just interested in tracking what Cozy is doing as far as what how the project is going. At some point, I would like to at some point I would like to integrate Cozy into Rook, so that we could have that as an option.
Why Rook though? So Cozy itself is a provisioning framework. Why would you integrate a provisioning framework with another provisioning framework? It's like what Docker did with systemd, and we ended up that ended up not working very well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I want to know like what is the best way forward, like with with Rook and with Cozy.
So
are there integrations that make sense, or is it a matter of documentation? And like how do we migrate users who are using the object bucket claims to using object claims for object stores that have been created by Rook?
Okay, I think Jeff had a question. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, Rook, or just a comment, a couple. Rook orchestrates storage in general, and so it also has CRDs for the whole object store itself. Which Cozy assumes exists. We don't do that in Cozy, and so it's sort of a single point, a single control plane to let administrator that's using Rook control all their storage, including objects. So
I think yeah. So every time we've tried to so I mean the beauty of Kubernetes, the beauty of Linux also, is that you have tools that do one thing well, and they do it really, really well, 10 times better than everything else. So if you look at grep, it just does filtering of strings, and it does it really, really well. It's highly scalable. It's highly flexible. Same thing with Kubernetes. Take the API server, for instance, or take the kube proxy or kube scheduler. They all do one thing really, really well. And that's what allows us to scale, because you are now integrating compact but simple pieces, and it's easier to build on top of simple pieces when you want to go to high scale. So what Rook does is it integrates file, block, and object storage into one package. Cozy is purely object storage. Now, Rook also orchestrates for a given CRD that requests object storage. Rook, I don't know if you can choose to use either Cassandra or Minio or some other object storage provider, but Rook will go provision the storage for you based on that CRD that you create. Cozy does the same thing, but in a much more we're going to be more Kube native, and I love any of these providers, object storage providers like Cassandra or Minio or others, to integrate with Cozy. So they kind of overlap, and Rook does more than just object storage. Cozy is going to be focused and going to do just object storage and do it really, really well.
Yeah, so it's just a common pattern. You have Kubernetes as a highly scalable, performant framework, and people build frameworks on top of frameworks. And
no, saying it is saying
scalability, but it's a common pattern.
What's the common pattern? At a high level, yes, it's a common pattern, like writing another controller or writing another framework on top of a framework. But then you could say like Python and Go are the same in that sense, because they're both frameworks for writing programming or programming on top of the kernel. So I wouldn't put it the same way. Cozy and Rook are not the same thing.
Well, I'm not saying they're the same. I'm saying I'm just trying to explain the use case or value of something like Rook. And then there's even higher levels of abstraction that can overlap Rook, like Crosspoint. I'm just saying it's good to have Rook on board with getting rid of deprecated code related to object provisioning and to plug into the native Kubernetes way of doing it.
Yeah. The right solution would be for Rook to migrate to start leveraging Cozy.
Right, but once it can be leveraged, right? Once it's
no, we should start integrating now, because we already have a working product. Because it's going to be a continuous thing. It's going to be a living, breathing integration effort. It's not going to be a one-shot thing.
Right. Having Blaine on board is great because he can
exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Early integration work, and we can get real feedback on.
Absolutely. So Blaine, so going back to how we started the discussion, were you able to follow everything we were saying?
I think so.
Okay.
I have a good understanding of the libbucket provisioner. I think sort of, which is kind of the idea from which Cozy was born. Mm-hmm. And I know Cozy has expanded on those ideas quite a bit. And I'm here to try to figure out when is the right time and
mm-hmm.
How best can I, with the Rook project, start integrating Cozy into the things that Rook is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
like Jeff said.
Yeah. I think that's going to help the project a lot. Having others integrate with it. My recommendation would be that you start playing with Cozy, and once you get a hang of it, you can start looking at different integration points. So yeah, I've also been involved with the Rook project in Crossplane. I don't know if you know someone named Bassam from
Yeah.
Upbound. Yeah, so when he was just starting Upbound, we had a long chat. He was asking me to go work at Upbound. This was like 3 years ago, when he just had the proposal for Crossplane. And I ended up going to Minayo, but it's a small community. We keep coming back. So I'm happy to see that Crossplane has taken off. Yeah, I'm excited for it. So I'm looking to learn more about that. However, about Rook, I have a decent understanding of it, and again, through this integration effort, we'll I'll get a better understanding of it, as well as we'll be able to iron out the Cozy API better as well.
Yeah, and just to plug Blaine, he's being modest. He's done several PRs with the old object library, bucket provisioning library, and understands some of the intricacies of writing a controller.
That's great. Oh, actually, in that case, so would you be able to help with development, Blaine?
I'm not sure. I do I do have a lot of stuff going on with Rook, and like a lot of things going toward like our storage product. I like my next goals, I guess, are sort of to see in our downstream development, like where does this integration fit in our priorities, and what sort of time can I have to dedicate to it based on those priorities, which also then would sort of what all of that I would include development that might go toward Cozy itself, and then also toward the integration of Cozy and Rook.
Yeah, I think that would be the best way for you to get involved then. If you, as a part of integration, you might have to make changes here. That way you would get a good exposure to Cozy. But you're always welcome to start sooner, or start with issues that we have. We do have some issues that need to be looked at, but I believe naturally integrating with the project, naturally getting involved is the best way to do it. As you integrate with Rook, yeah, you'll be able to get started with Cozy too.
Yeah, I think, Blaine, if you have an opportunity to review some PRs, we have a couple of repos, you can get some exposure to the code, and I think it will look familiar to you.
Yeah. So a point of where you can get started is I'll send out this link on the Slack channel. So the docs here, this readme.md points to documentation. The documentation is still a work in progress. However, this is going to contain an overall picture of how the entire project works. So I'm going to paste it in Slack. Yeah. Yeah. So like Jeff was suggesting, we have things that we're working on. But if you do have experience with writing controllers, there is something that is slightly lower level. The implementation of the controller itself, the logic behind how it synchronizes and gets new events. I would like someone to take a look at it and go over it, because this is an implementation that we came up with to speed up development and just keep things simple. And I would like more eyes on this, and to make sure that this works exactly as intended. Yeah, this is one of the things that I'll need someone who has a good amount of experience developing controllers to take a look at.
Yeah, I think I can definitely take a look at that. And
Okay.
that, yeah, I also agree. Like, I think trying to integrate Rook and Cozy will also do a lot to like kind of see where there might be some sticking points or some pain points.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. So Blaine, reach out to me on Slack anytime. And when you start integrating, or if you want to start trying it out, or if you want to look into, I'll send out this link also to this controller, and also send out what needs to be done. Someone needs to test it out really, because this is something we wrote on our own. Someone needs to make sure that there are no deadlocks, there are no race conditions, and also that it works as intended. So yeah, so I'll put it out in this channel. As you start taking a look at it, you might want to know how to run it or how to test it. In those cases, just reach out to me directly, and yeah, I'll work with you and get you up to speed.
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. All right. Sorry.
Oh, you're on the Slack. You are
WLAN 0.
WLAN 0. Okay.
Yeah, the first wireless interface. Yeah, with that, we're actually out of time. That's it from me. Does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you, everyone. We'll meet again on Thursday at 10 a.m.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
Sid.
Thank
See
you.
you, Jeff. Bye, Krish. Bye, Blaine.
Bye.
Thanks, Shane. Bye.